Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. Today is Friday, June the 12th. This week has been fairly hectic with a bunch of news that we have in the markets. Yesterday, I ended up having a nice rally towards the upside right off our key levels here on the higher time frames. Coming into today, we're going to have plenty of news here as well. We're going to have some prelim consumer sentiment. And then, of course, today's one of the big days. We do have the SpaceX IPO that is going to be dropping today. We don't have an exact time as of yet, but it is going to be dropping today here in the market. So we'll see how that does impact the overall indices, Tesla, and everything else. Since that is going to be fairly big, everyone's going to be waiting for that. So talk about that a little bit more here in a second. What's up, everyone? Good morning. What's up, Calvin? B Roots World Cup as well. I'm not sure what country you guys are from, but that should be fairly exciting. What's up, P1? Z Norris. What's up, Victor? What's up, Knight? Jaytan? Goshen? Good morning, Shen, Kevin, Robert, Vade. Good morning, Lamit, Sinna, Nick, Zach. What's up, Julius, Maria? What's up, DeFi? Alejandro, Ivan, Andy, Hector, Maria. Yeah, what's up, everyone? Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. Let me pull up the economic calendar here first, and then let's get right into it. So, at least coming into today, we do have the prelim consumer sentiment. We'll see how this impacts the market. Most likely not expecting as much of an impact or reaction here. That's going to be at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The main thing, of course, that we talked about is going to be this SpaceX IPO. So, what to expect kind of coming into today for the SpaceX IPO? Let's quickly talk about this. So, if you guys don't already know, it's going to be released today sometime. A lot of times, the IPOs usually drop midday. We'll get a little bit of a more kind of updated exact time for you guys, but right now, most likely going to be released sometime midday. Usually the IPOs come around 12 o'clock, but don't just be prepared for it to come out. I do expect the markets to kind of wait for that at least for today, day number one, right? It's going to be fairly hectic, right? Whenever the market does IPO, we are expecting it to come out around $135 a share. As for the game plan moving forward, at least for the first kind of couple days, I do expect a potential kind of pop here in the market. That very much well can be in a play for a push towards the upside. So let's say we IPO here, we have that initial push maybe within the first couple of sessions towards the upside, and then we end up start dropping. So that's usually how IPOs work, is we end up opening up, we end up pumping higher, and then we end up having, I guess you can call this the dump. So we end up having a move higher, and then we start pushing towards the downside, and within 3 to 6 months it is probably going to start trending downwards, and then that's when you're interested. So if you do want to trade the IPO, there isn't going to be any option chain, at least that I'm aware of, that you can trade. So if you do want to trade this, primarily shares. If you are looking for more so of a long-term investment, you could be looking to buy day number one. But just remember, most likely, most IPOs, it is going to move up the first two sessions, and then it's going to end up dumping within the first, I'd say, a couple months, 3 to 6 months. Usually is a lot lower than its original IPO day. So with that being said, let's head on to some of the charts that we have coming into today. Let's see. Do you still post your midweek updates? Yes. Make sure to check that out on my second channel. I post at least the past 2 weeks. I've posted quite consistently on there, around 3 to 4 times a week. But as you can see, yesterday we had some buyers step in. I think that the best time frame, or the best time frame to keep an eye out for on the SPY and Qs, of course, is the weekly chart. So as you can see here for the SPY, right around our key level support, which happens to be that 730. So as you can see, this is our daily double. I'd say our daily double bottom, the area that we originally had a nice push towards the upside. You can see on Wednesday, buyers defended. Thursday, we actually closed underneath. And then yesterday, buyers ended up stepping in. right off that daily gap, which was that 720. If you're looking at this on the weekly time frame, this is going to give us a little bit of a nicer perspective. But as you can see so far, buyers are stepping in right off this 9 EMA here on the SPY. We're reclaiming back above this 730 here as well. Now, what I like to see is number one, most likely we are just going to close fairly neutral for the SPY and Qs to end off the week. So the daily candle, or sorry, the weekly candle, most likely going to close fairly neutral. But if we're talking about the location and everything, right, this is fairly bullish here on the SPY, right? Buyers are stepping in exactly where they like, where they're supposed to. Now coming to the next following weeks, we like to see buyers step in for a push back up in towards, of course, our all-time highs here on the major indices. So for the SPY coming into today, the key levels that we have marked out as well is simply just going to be our high that we created here on Tuesday. And then we also have our low that we created, which is that 724. So as you can see, we have multiple touches. This is the area that we broke down from coming into this week. So if we do want to see continued upside here, we like to see it above our 745 for a push higher, or the potential bounce play here offers 738 for a push back towards the upside here as well. If we're talking about downside, downside now, we mentioned every single lower high was being built, but this is the first day where we ended up closing back above our previous day high. So once we broke down on Friday, you can see every day after that, we end up closing underneath. Yesterday was the first day where we end up closing back above our previous day highs. So this is a potential shift here on the hourly time frame. What we're going to keep an eye out for is our 745. As I mentioned, we still could come up into that 745 and have a rejection off this level for a push right back down in towards our previous day highs, which is that 738. So downside is still technically valid, but I'm a lot more bullish here just based off the weekly, based off the daily, the hourly time frame flipped here as well. So not as bearish. It would more so be a potential kind of pop and fade rejection right off that 745. Now moving forward, we're going to keep an eye out on that previous day highs along with that 745 as I mentioned. If you go onto the ES on the hourly time frame, you can see buyers stepped in nicely right off that 72.60 yesterday. Now we're flipping back above our previous day highs here as well. So for long scenario, longs above our previous day highs for a push towards the upside. Another possible scenario, longs above our 74.50s for continuation towards the upside here as well. If we come up, pop, reject off this level, we're going to see a push right back down in towards that 7,400. Or now, as I mentioned, back underneath our previous day highs. Technically, we could still make this like kind of higher time frame rejection here off the 7,500. But as I mentioned, I'm not really interested in shorts that much with the markets, of course, flipping yesterday. We ended up closing back above. We had some news yesterday as well, pushing price higher. We'll see how the market is impacted with the SpaceX IPO. But for short scenarios underneath our previous day highs or the rejection of our 74.60s. If we're going to the QQQ, let's go on to the higher time frame, starting off on the weekly chart. Fairly similar thing. As you can see on the weekly, we're now trying to defend this key level, which is essentially this higher low here on the weekly time frame. So buyers are stepping in exactly where we'd like it to. A lot of the main watches that we had coming into this week are up fairly nicely. So if you went for looking for the buyers to step in right off this 700, right? Some dip ads are working out nicely. And now, of course, with some news yesterday, we'll see if we can get that push back up in towards that all-time highs that we do have. Intel working out very nicely, AMD, MU, all those major watches that we had coming into this week. As for the daily chart, key levels that we had marked out was our 700. So as you can see, this is the area that we broke out from. We ended up coming down yesterday here on the daily, closed right at that level, but buyers are stepping in nicely. And now we're seeing a potential now reversal back towards the upside. Key levels that we do have marked out on the Qs is going to be our 720. As you can see, we rejected here on Monday, we rejected here on Tuesday, and now coming into this day, you can see potential rejection once again for a move down in towards our previous day highs right off this 720. If we get above our 725, hold above, then we can see this reversal here in the markets. So if we go into the 15-minute time frame today, key levels that I have marked out 715 along with our 722 longs above our 722 for a pushback towards the upside, or now the bounce play here offers 715 for a pushback towards the upside here as well. So those are the scenarios that we have on the Qs. If we go into the NQ, the key levels that we have marked out here on the hourly time frame is going to be that 29,800. Other levels that we have marked out here as well, which is our 29,400. Longs above 29,800 for continuation higher, or the potential bounce play here off that 29,400. If we're looking at this on the 15-minute, that's going to be the key today, right? Above our pre-market highs or above our previous day highs for continuation. On the hourly time frame, as I mentioned, we still could potentially reject off this level once again. So keep an eye out for this pop and fade. That's why we'd be waiting for the break and retest above that 29,800 here on the QQQ. All right, with that being said, let's go on to the SMH and then we'll head on to some other tech names now here as well. If you guys do have any tickers or any charts you'd like me to go over, you guys can now drop them in the chat. If you guys are enjoying this so far, I appreciate if you guys drop a like and sub. If you guys haven't joined the free daily watch list, that's in the description. And if you also guys haven't joined the ebook, and of course the live presentation that we're going to be having next week, make sure to sign up for that. That is in the first link in the description below. So let's talk about the SMH here. So the semiconductors are bouncing very nicely. Intel bouncing very nicely. You can see SMH right at our key level here on the higher time frames, which happens to be that 560. So nice amount of volatility here on the SMH. Now daily candle is shaping up fairly nicely here. If we're looking at this on the weekly time frame, buyers stepped in right off our down close candle. Now it seems like we're going to have a fairly strong candle close here on the weekly time frame as well. If we're on the hourly time frame, key levels that we have marked out is our previous day highs. We can kind of draw this out, or we can readjust this level up into that previous day highs and really the area that we broke down from, which is that 610. If we're on this hourly time frame, you can see how many touches we've had off this general area. If we do want to see some upside, need it above our 610 for a push towards the upside, or now the bounce play here offers 600 for continuation back towards the highs here as well. So this is what we have for the SMH coming into market open. Keep an eye out on longs on the SMH above our previous day highs. If we can get above our previous day highs, that's a good sign for, of course, continuation back towards the upside. If we pop, kind of reject off that previous day highs, then we could see a move back down in towards the middle of the range that we had yesterday, which is our 600. And then for the IWM, this one back at our all-time highs are very close. Keep an eye on the IWM. Now you'd like to see it above our all-time highs, above that 292.50 for continuation towards the upside. All right, with that being said, let's head on to some tech names that we do have here now as well, starting off with Tesla. I'm going to grab some water here real quick. All right, let's talk about Tesla. So Tesla today, we'll see how this one is impacted, of course, by the SpaceX IPO. We've already had a decent amount of volatility this week with the announcement kind of leading up to the SpaceX IPO earlier in April. But we'll see the reaction coming to market open. Most likely it would be a little bit more hands off on Tesla today. But if we're looking at this one, still fairly neutral here on the higher time frames. Really not too much to talk about. We did have a nice reversal yesterday right off that 385. Nice buyers stepped in, of course, with the major indices as well, and it pushed back up in towards our high that we created here on Wednesday. If we're looking at this week's price action, Now for some upside here on Tesla, we'd like to see it maintain above that 395 for a push back up and towards our 400 and above. Or now we like to see it, yeah, really pre-market highs or above our previous day highs for a continuation higher here as well. So these are the scenarios that we have for Tesla coming into market open here. As I mentioned, we'll just be a little bit more patient on this one. Let's go on to Nvidia. So Nvidia, this one came all the way back down to our 200, which is that original area that we broke out from. What I would like to see on Nvidia now is a reclaim back above this 210. So if we're looking at this one on the daily chart, I'd say we kind of broke underneath this daily high or low. For me to flip back bullish on this one, back above that 210 is needed for a reclaim back towards the upside. If we reject off this 210, we could form kind of a higher time frame head and shoulders here back towards the downside. So for Nvidia, for me personally, I'd like to see it back above that 210 at a minimum if you want to see any sort of push higher. If we're looking at intraday price action, not too much to talk about on this one. Nice bounce off that 200. Now we like to see it back above our previous day highs and above that 207 if you want to see any sort of pushback towards the upside here on Nvidia. AMD, this one, let's talk about this one here on the higher time frames. So we had a couple watches coming into this week. We had AMD, Intel, Marvel, along with MU. AMD bouncing fairly nicely so far right off that daily gap, and this higher low is being built on the higher time frames as well. So you can see higher lows on the daily. Buyers are stepping in nicely off this 460. Let's see if we can get that push back up in towards, of course, that all-time highs. Key levels that we have on AMD coming into today is going to be number one, that previous day highs. Other levels that we have marked out as well. We have a couple other levels. We have our Tuesday's highs marked out, but the main levels here now is just going to be our previous day highs along with our Tuesday's highs. If you want to see some upside here on AMD, we like to see it above our previous day highs, hold of that 490s key, and now a break above our 504 for continuation towards the upside here as well. Those are the scenarios. If you want to see some downside, potential pop and fade, right? There's been some nice downside scenarios the past week, but yesterday, first sign of a flip here on the higher time frames, sorry, on the lower time frames, nice buyers stepped in as well. So now the key levels moving forward, we already talked about them. But downside is technically still in play here on the major indices if we do reject sharply off that 505 and of course that Tuesday's highs here on the major indices. Let's talk about Apple here. Apple is one of my favorite looking higher time frame charts. So we talked about the break and retest of our previous all-time highs. Nice buyers stepping in so far here right off that 288. What I like to see now is the break back above our previous day highs, which we currently did yesterday. And now let's see if we can get that push back up and towards our 300 here on Apple. The key levels that we do have marked out is our 294. As you can see, yesterday we ended up closing back above our high that we created here on Thursday. Now what I like to see is maintain above this 294 for a push up in towards our 300 here on Apple. So keep an eye on that 294 for a hold for a pushback towards the upside. For looking at Google, this one came right in towards our previous all-time highs yesterday as well. So Google in a very key technical spot. I like this one a lot. A lot of low-risk entries for Apple, Google. Right now we can be looking for a pushback up in towards our all-time highs with very minimal risk underneath our previous all-time highs. So for Google, this is a scenario that we'd be looking for a trade back higher with a stop underneath that 340. For Apple, fairly similar scenario, right? Buyers stepping in. We like to see a move back up and towards our all-time highs with a stop underneath. So Google bounced right off a key technical area. 350 was a very solid level here on Google. Now the key levels that we have marked out is just going to be our previous day highs. We like to see it maintain for now that flip back towards the upside, in this case 360s and that 370s here on Google. As for Microsoft, not too much to talk about in this one, showing a lot more weakness. Meta dropping here as well, along with Amazon and Netflix. These ones are seeing a little bit of bounces here with the major indices, but the main thing here is, of course, the semiconductors, AMD, Nvidia. We'll talk about MU here, which is fairly solid. One of the main levels we talked about on MU was our 800. This one happened to kind of base right before, above that 21 EMA. And now, as you can see, really strong daily candle close here on MU. So daily chart still very much intact for continuation towards the upside. If we're on the hourly time frame, the key levels that we have coming into this week is our really this week's high. So we can actually kind of readjust. We have two levels marked out here on MU. We have our previous day highs, which, as you can see, is the area that we broke down from. We also have this level here as well, which, as you can see, I'm most likely just going to readjust this one down in towards our Wednesday's highs, and you can see multiple touches this week here as well. So for MU, if we do want to see some upside today, what we like to see it above our previous day highs for continuation towards the upside, or now the bounce here off our 960 for a pushback towards the upside here as well. SNDK, really solid push up in towards our all-time highs. If we're looking at this one on the daily time frame, really solid bounce right off our previous all-time highs, 21 held, and now of course we're back at our all-time highs. SNDK, really one of the ones that are leading the markets back towards the upside, above our 1700. We end up having a nice push, as you can see, all the way back up in towards that all-time high. So for SNDK here now, we just like to see it maintain above our previous all-time highs for continuation back towards the upside. The break back underneath, you want to be a little bit more cautious, but the hold above, we can see that push back up in towards our pre-market highs and above. Let's talk about Intel here. Intel, one of my favorite names coming into this week off our 100 key psych. Nice buyer stepping in. Now we're about up 20% on the underlying stock. But what I like to see here on Intel, more so kind of this higher time frame daily wedge pattern. Now what I like to see is the break above our 115, which we ended up flipping back above. Now let's see if we can hold above that 115 for that continuation back towards the upside. So for Intel, let's go back onto the daily chart. The key level that we broke back above yesterday was above this 115. You can see we had multiple touches. Right off the bat, we had a nice break and retest of this level for a continuation higher. Ultimately came back down in towards that previous day highs, and we had a nice bounce back up in towards our high of day. So for INTC, the key levels that we have marked out is going to be that 114, maintain above that 114 for a push towards the upside, above our previous day highs now here in play for a move up in towards that 120 and above. So let's mark out this here on INTC. 118 is key. Now let's go on to a few other tickers. Some other memory names bouncing nicely. WDC, keep an eye on this one, reclaiming back above that 520. Let's see if we can get that move back up in towards that all-time highs. TSM, basing here on the weekly time frame, still looks fairly bullish. Hood ended up having a nice push on on Wednesday. Yesterday, nice push here as well, up into that 92. Keep an eye on Robinhood for a push up in towards our 100 key psychological level here for a push back towards the upside. So as you can see right here, we end up having a nice push. Now we can do one of two things, potentially form some sort of cup and handle, or we'll be waiting for the break above 94 for this continuation back towards the upside here as well. So Hood, keep an eye on the break above our 94. As for Marvel, this one, nice buyer stepped in off this 260, right off this 9 EMA here on the daily chart. This one's going to consolidate a little bit more. We have quite a bit of volatility the past 2 weeks on Marvel. So a little bit more consolidation. And then eventually, right, we can see this potential move back towards the upside. But at least for now, key levels that we're going to have marked out is going to be that 260. Other levels that we have marked out now is going to be that previous day highs, which was nice once we broke above. And then we also have this 280. So if we want to see continuation above our 280 today for a potential move back towards the upside, or the base above our Wednesday's highs for a pushback towards the highs here as well. As for a few other tickers, NBIS, keep an eye on this one for the reclaim back above our 240 for a move back up in towards that all-time highs. There's a bunch of other tickers as well that we'd like to see reclaim back above if we want to see a pushback towards the highs. But yeah, with that being said, let's go on to a couple more tickers here. Let's go on to SMCI. This one recently had if I'm not mistaken, I forget what the news was, but it had an offering. I think it was $250 million, or sorry, $4.9 billion on offering on SMCI. So this is kind of what dropped it towards the downside within this week. So pretty big move within the past 20 to 40 days, nicely towards the upside. But of course, with the offering, dropped the stock all the way back down into really the area that it broke out from. So not too much to talk about on this one, just kind of right at our 30 key psych level, which so far we're seeing a little bit of a bounce off of. ARM, nice buyers kind of stepping in right off this 21 EMA and this down close candle here as well. So ARM, nice buyers stepping in. Now we like to see buyers step in for a push back up in towards our 360 and above here. So nice candle close back above our previous day highs. Once this occurred, right, nice push up in towards that 350. Now the key levels that we have marked out on ARM is basically this area that we broke down from. So we can readjust this. It's going to be that 360. If you want to see continuation higher above 360, also above our previous day highs for a pushback towards the upside here as well. If we're looking at this on the daily here on Qualcomm, coming all the way back down in towards our previous all-time highs. So for Qualcomm, this one is showing a little bit more weakness here now. You can see the EMAs are trying to flip here as well after we broke underneath that 230. But if we're looking at this one on the weekly time frame, it's now going to take a little bit longer to set up, but we do have our previous all-time highs. Now we like to see more so of a weekly time frame double bottom for a potential move back towards the upside. If we're looking at this on the daily chart, we would like to see buyers step in right off this level here as well and potentially reverse this back up in towards our 230 here on the higher time frames. As for a few other tickers, let's see what else. We can go over Oracle. This one had earnings yesterday, end up dropping towards the downside underneath that 200. So earnings reaction back underneath that 200. If we're looking at this on the daily time frame, we wanted to see buyers step in above, but obviously with earnings, this one's gapping down here. So now into a key level support. Let's see if we can get a potential kind of earnings reversal. AVGO right at a key level here as well. AVGO had nice buyers that stepped in right off that 370, but this one's fairly weak. So what we like to see now is the reclaim back above our previous day highs if we do want to see any sort of pushback towards upside. As for the rest of the tickers, let me just go over the game plan once more coming into market open. So the key levels that we have coming into today is going to be our 722 along with our 715. If we want to see some upside above that 722 or the pullback down towards that 715 for continuation. If we reject, be a little bit more patient today for potential pushback towards the downside. SPY, similar levels here as well. If we are looking for upside, my main watches are, of course, the semiconductors, the same main watches that we've had coming to this week, right? Into INTC, we traded this a couple times towards the upside this week. Marvel, we have MU, had a nice pop yesterday, and then AMD. These are the main ones. Also keep an eye out on Hood. We'll see if we can get that breakout potentially today or within the coming days, but Hood looks super solid, building up these higher lows above our 92. We can enter in this gap. Something kind of similar to this Microsoft setup here, where we've had multiple touches. Once we broke above, we had nice continuation for this daily gap. Right, similar thing with Hood. If we can break above our 92, we can see a nice push up in towards our 100 and above here. So keep an eye out on Hood. And then, of course, the main thing today, of course, is the SpaceX IPO. So I'm not sure. Do you guys know? Do you guys have any times for the SpaceX IPO release? Usually they do come maybe a couple hours after market opens. I'm not sure if they do have a set time for this, but might drop sometime midday. This is going to be the main thing today. So everyone is going to be waiting, of course, for the SpaceX IPO. We'll see what it comes in at. Target's about 130 a share. So once it does release, oh, is it at 9 a.m.? 9 a.m. Eastern, or sorry, BST. So 9:50 on the dot. Yeah, so I guess if it's releasing at 9:50 on the dot, we're gonna be fairly patient today and most likely just gonna wait for that IPO release at 9:50. But yeah, with that being said, that's going to be the main thing currently today. So we'll be a little bit more patient. I do expect a decent amount of volatility today, of course. This week has been quite volatile, so expect nothing else to kind of change here. With, of course, right, Tuesday's price action. Of course, Friday's drop from last week. You can see nice rebound yesterday. But I do expect a decent amount of volatility coming into that SpaceX IPO as well. But yeah, with that being said, at least for today, a similar game plan as the past couple sessions. We're going to be open and playing both sides here on the markets. I do like semis, of course, for still continuation towards the upside. If I don't like anything within the first 10 to 15 minutes, I'm just going to wait for that SpaceX IPO, which is going to be fairly key. So I would expect today, at least, I would advise to be a little bit more hands off before then. I'm not expecting too much to kind of shape up in the markets. But if you do have, let's say you bought the dip yesterday or earlier into the week on any other ticker, right? You can be looking to take some off as it comes up into a very key technical level, which is here on the Qs, right? I'd say we're now flipping back bullish. We still could reject off this area, which is something to keep an eye out for, right? We rejected off this area earlier into the week, and we kind of created this mini head and shoulders. And we're still back inside. If we want to see longs above this level, we can see a flip back towards the upside. If we reject off this level once again, then I'm not going to be as bullish. So keep that in mind. We need to see the break back above that 29,800 here, primarily on the higher time frames. If we're looking at this on the ES, you can see the ES is a little bit weaker, right? The main thing here would be that NQ break retest for continuation. You don't want to see break, fail, and we could see a move right back towards the downside here on the major indices. But yeah, that's going to be it for me today. As I mentioned, I'll have a market update for you guys this weekend on Saturday. I'll have a YouTube video coming out this week as well. That's going to be on Sunday. And yeah, with that being said, I'm going to get ready for market open here now. If you guys did enjoy that, I appreciate if you guys drop a like and sub. If you guys haven't joined the free daily watch list, that of course is in the description below. If you guys, of course, haven't joined the ebook, the free ebook that we've released, that one is in the top link of the description below as well. But yeah, with that being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you guys all next week. All right, take care, everyone. Peace.